Violet petals drift through glass. Yesterday's ghosts dancing past. Crystalline whispers in the void. Silver streaming stars destroyed. Down at Collaboration Station, breathing mercury sensation, paper wings and neon rain, threading needles through my brain. Through these veins, mirror children chase the light. Drowning in electric night. Origami souls unfold. Stories bought and stories sold. All these things down at Collaboration Station, breathing mercury sensation, paper wings and neon rain, threading needles through my brain. Through these veins.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Collaboration Station, episode number 47. Welcome to X is our Wednesday space, a welcoming place for new people on the platform, and our, of course, esteemed panel of regulars that we always get to enjoy a great conversation with. But if there's ever a space that you want to share with someone new that you met on the platform, this is the one, so that they can get a warm welcome, meet some really cool accounts, discuss some interesting topics kind of at the foundational level, and about getting the most out of X. Today's topic in general is connections are greater than capability, and we'll get into what that kind of means as far as a content creator. And this is just a general theme topic of the space, but anyone is always welcome to come up and chat about anything that they've got going on, that they're working on content-wise, introduce themselves, or share something that they've recently completed that they're excited about, or something that you've got coming up that you want to share. So with that, I'll introduce myself. I'm Kate Bly. I am the community admin at the Collaboration Station, freelance photographer and website designer, and X enthusiast. I have my wonderful co-hosts, Rich Silver and Christopher Fryan. And Rich, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the lovely people here and the podcast listeners, of course. And then after that, Christopher, you jump right in.
Hello, lovely people, and hello, podcast listeners. My name is Rich Silver. You can find me on X at RichSilverX. I am a creator who has my hands in a lot of different pots at the moment. I have a couple different communities on X that I admin, Silver Stackers and Collectors community, as well as the Make X Great community. And I am constantly putting out new content, whether it's digital art or music videos or posting articles about random topics or just whatever comes to my mind. I invite you all to please come check out my content, scroll through my highlights, and hopefully you'll find something that you like, want to comment on, and hopefully share.
And I am Christopher Friant. I'm a digital artist, 2D, 3D artist, and AI filmmaker. And my show, Capstone, is an analog horror series, and it is out now. And there's a link in the comments for that if you want to check that out, if that's your kind of thing.
Awesome. Thanks so much. My wonderful co host join me every week, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. And I think that ties in a lot to the connections part of the theme. I also want to just remind everyone to please repost the space, give us a like down below, say hi, leave a comment, share it out in any groups that you have, and let's get the space rolling. I'm in the mountain time zone or whatever time zone I am in. It's not my normal time zone. It's the morning. I'm all discombobulated, so I need some great people here to take the mic from my hands as I drivel on because I don't know what I'm going to be talking about. Um, but first, before we get to that, we do have the fun little games we do. Is the poll. So, Christopher, I think I just pinned it up above. Yeah, the poll. Do you want to introduce that?
Yes, the poll is what is best in life? And your options are to crush your enemies, to see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
And as always, the poll is highly relevant and really just critical that you vote in it because serious decisions will be made based on the results that we all need to be respectful of and taking seriously. So thank you, Christopher, for the wonderful poll. And we do have the bingo game. If I can kind of get I should have probably done that while you guys were introducing yourself, but instead I just stared into space. So I didn't get the post below with the bingo game.
Okay.
This is why I don't do spaces in the morning.
Yeah. See, now you're seeing what I go through. You did this at like what 1 p.m. or something like that. And
yeah, my normal time. It's 1 in the afternoon. It's lovely. I've had my morning. I've gotten going. I've done my emails, and then lunchtime. I get to, I stretch my legs. I have my an extra cup of coffee, maybe a snack. It's really a great time to host a space 1 p.m. But why we do it at this time is because I do want to welcome people in Europe and stuff because, when would be a good time for the three of us, maybe later. But then those folks in Europe, it's like getting pretty late for them. So I just trying to be more inclusive with the time zones.
yeah, and this is the fallout from that.
Yeah. Anyway, so let me see if I can get this figured out here. I'm going to put the bingo card link. It's fun to play along, and there's probably, if anyone already knew how to get the bingo card, they probably already crossed off a few of those. So while I do that, okay, here we go. Brain's working now. Okay, while I do that, Christopher, what your idea for the title of the space? It was kind of your thoughts that got to the title. So why don't you share what that means to you and maybe any thoughts that came to mind when you first came up with this title?
Yeah, so connections are greater than capability, and this is not like I'm not meritocratic. I guess I would say it's not about that. It's just the reality of the world we live in. I went through a very long career of corporate life, doing as much as I could, learning as much as I could, being as good as I possibly could. And I didn't spend any time making like deep friends or deep connections or networking or anything like that. And it really, really kicked my ass. So yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about today is it's for a certain kind of person, it's not an easy thing to accept. If you're just like, well, if I'm just amazing at what I do, those connections will just appear, and that's just not how it works. You have to go out and find those connections and keep them active. There's something that the CIA does, where they basically say, okay, we have our connections, we have our people that you know they're on the take, or they're we're giving them something they want. we're giving money so that they can bring their kids to school or something like that. But that relationship is always going to decay from the moment that you make that connection and you give them what they want. It is decaying from then on. You have to constantly re-up it and keep in contact with that person, keep them happy. So obviously you don't want the CIA version of that. You want to try to you know have like genuine interest in a person, but keep in mind that those connections can decay over time. So it's not enough to just oh, I'm just going to go to this person's post and say, wow, you did a great job. And, like, people don't care about that. I don't think. Like, it's nice, it is nice, but it's not going to be very meaningful to anyone. I think the best connections that I've made are on Spaces, and they've led to like the biggest opportunities I've had in the film industry, only because I talk to them and like in a more direct manner on Spaces. So yeah, so you need to be thinking about the level of the connection you're having and the depth of that connection. If you're just like, oh yeah, this is cool, yeah, we shared memes a couple times, that's fun, it's great, it's a good start, but you need something beyond that if you want an actual connection. Somebody who's like, oh, this guy's cool, he's reliable, maybe he'll be good in this particular space. So that's what we're talking about here today. And I believe there was like a spin-off thing that we were talking about, but I can't remember what it was. Maybe you remember, Kate.
Yeah, don't ask me to remember anything right now, but yeah, this is where you can be the most talented person in the world, and especially on X, and now really all the social media platforms, it's just very hard to break through in the algorithm as a new account or someone that doesn't have already a built-in audience of people to interact with your stuff. It's very hard you can be the best, people won't see it. So, it doesn't necessarily matter if you're the best or not. Of course, that's always great, but it's a good foundation. Whereas like connections and communication, that is the power of X for sure. And, Spaces is like, that's it for me. That's the only, I do get some interactions in the timeline. I get out there and reply on occasions to just touch base and see where the people I like to interact with, what they're up to, what they're doing. But that's not where I find the real like connections are made. And space for me, it's Spaces for sure. That's a great point. And for a lot of people, I think if that get discouraged on the timeline, it's very easy to get blackpilled out there if that's all you're doing. And the people that jump into Spaces, maybe even just listening sometimes, I think we can all appreciate, listening to voices, listening to podcasts and stuff like that, and then being able to jump into the conversation. I mean, it's a very powerful thing, very unique way of communicating. And that's why I kind of want to do this space in particular as like just a welcoming place for new people to come and discover Spaces. And we've had a lot of people come through the community that way, that stumble into one of our spaces, and they enjoy themselves, have a good time, have a good conversation. Then they go out into the wild on their own. We don't see them for a few weeks, and then they come back all battered and bruised and be like, oh my God, Kate, you were the first space. We've heard this so many times.
Everybody else is
I
just
love this story.
It's chock full of assholes.
You always know, we always know what you'll get here. You always get some encouragement. You'll get some people who do end up coming up and sharing what they're working on and stuff. If people want like a little bit of advice, critique, that kind of gentle praise, but also with some guidance. I think we're very good at doing that, and can be helpful. And if that's something someone wants, sometimes it's just come up and share what you've done and let people see it and get some more eyes on it. We do that with our own stuff, and it's this space is always open to anybody in the community or anyone who comes through. that wants to do that. It's not just for us, for sure. We just do that to fill the time, honestly. This is number 49 of our spaces together.
Yeah, what are we going to do for episode 50? I mean, that's a milestone, right?
Yeah, what are we going to do? I'm open to ideas. Anyone here have any ideas? Drop those down in the purple pill, or throw a hand up. Give me some ideas. I don't have any for that. I don't like celebrating things and that way. Well, okay, I'll say this. I love celebrating things. I really do. But I would never be so self-absorbed as to admit it.
So I don't know, like a
Let-
drinking game, take a shot for every, bingo space or something like that. And we'll do like a live stream and we'll just get like piss drunk.
Okay, no, but I do like the live stream idea. Would you guys be game for doing this? Maybe not as a live stream, but we could do a video space. Would you guys? How does that work? Have we figured that out? Is it possible?
It works. And we've done it. We've done it before. Just got some pushback from the two of us, Rich and I.
That's right. And I don't know, Rich, is that even possible for you?
Maybe not immediately, because I am getting ready to pack up my desk and all of my stuff, so I would have to use my phone. I mean, I guess it would work, but I like the excuse of it not being able to work.
All right, well, that's an idea. We can think about that, mull that over. There's a few days. I'll be on Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, so let's see. Anyone who wants to come up, please feel free to request a mic. You can throw a hand up and I'll know that you want to share in this space. I kind of have a wonderful group of people here who come up and request a mic, so I don't always just assume that they're able to speak. So I do hands. That's how I feel comfortable. Yes, Aura, good to see you. How are you today?
I am good, and I'm glad you didn't assume I could speak because, I'm knee deep in kids, spring break. Woo! Yeah, so you were talking about, making connections with people, and there's those real connections and spaces being great. I really wish that we had a notes feature, because I might talk to somebody in a space and think they are just the most amazing person, follow them. Then, their content on their page, there isn't much there. They change their picture and their name, and then I have no idea who they are and no idea why the heck I'm following this person. It drives me nuts. And if I could just make like a little note on the account and say, okay, and if I was doing this like as a business for like a brand or something, I would be keeping an Excel spreadsheet or some other way of tracking my relationships with people, our interactions, important notes. I don't do that. I really should. I know it would dramatically increase, my growth, but I'm not trying to grow either. So I'm all over the place. So I'm sharing that with you guys that are trying to grow. Like it's, any kind of sales that you do, if you remember little things and you make those notes, like I used to sell lighting. I know, sounds boring, but it's actually big business. I had a file on every single client. And dude, if I remembered their dog's name or called them and said happy birthday, that like cemented. And especially as adults, like birthdays are a big deal. Not many people remember them. It's not like Christmas and you're passing out little reindeer to everybody at work. You remember somebody's birthday, you take that time and effort, it really means a lot. So even though I'm really bad with names, remembering the pet's name or remembering the thing really helps lubricate that social interaction. Like, taking the time, even if you're doing it in a file, which might feel fake, it really isn't. You're taking the time and energy to get to know the person. And then as you exchange back and forth, eventually that stuff you'll start remembering it. And so I can't say enough about making real connections with people. Do you want to be the guy who nobody even notices they're gone for 2 months? Or do you want to be the guy that like you're gone a week and they're like, what the heck happened? Like, if you take a couple of days off and people are freaking out about it, that you don't engage with every day, right? then you know you have made some real connections with those human beings and that they actually care about your content and you, the person who's creating it, your thoughts, like just, yeah. So real connections are super important. And, you know, as we're seeing this big purge, I know that a lot of you are losing accounts that you engaged with daily. Dude, there was no authenticity in that relationship. And even a lot of these temporarily suspended accounts, you go look at the content, dude, it's garbage. Why are you engaging with that? I mean, I know why you are. And if you're honest with yourself, you know why you are. But you can't be sad that the system's like, no, this isn't okay. Because like there are people in this room right here that put so much time and energy and heart into creating content that, you know, I appreciate greatly. For people, you know, for the scammers to scam the way out they are, they're not just pulling revenue out of the program, they're pulling attention and making it really difficult for those of us who want to see quality content in our feeds. It's screwed the algorithm all the way up, and it makes really good content creators hard to see. Anyways, now I'm just rambling. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Rich, Vivek, Gunky, Ashley, like everybody that's here showing up, even if it's not every day, and you're creating not because of the algorithm and not because of payouts, but because you have something to share with the world. I am just honored and privileged that I get to share this platform with you.
Thank you, Aura, and some really, really great points there. You know, for me, the rumors about the bots, the purges of followers and everything going around, and I guess they're not necessarily rumors. There's people actually seeing it happen. And what's interesting, I was just checking my stats and seeing, and my lost followers, it's, you know, it's always just a few a day, and that's pretty normal. And so I haven't seen any change in that. But I will say, a month ago or so, I purged them myself. I went through my account and got rid of like 500, 600 followers that were either inactive or bots, or clearly not the type of account that's going to interact with me or I'm going to be interested in interacting with. Like I'm very open-minded and friendly and want to connect with real people on here. So anyone that was, you know, had the look of being not real, and we all can tell, right? And if there was a question mark about it, I kind of just left them there. But anyone that I'm like, oh yeah, this isn't a real person, I got rid of. And so I wonder if it's a lot of those accounts that like I had purged there, like that people are losing. So yeah, Aura, what do you think?
100%. I looked through, and you know, yeah, there's all those temporary suspension accounts. Go look, they all look the same. And I haven't been good about purging the people that are following me. For the most part, they go away on their own, even if they aren't being suspended. They don't get followed back. But I do know or I believe that hurts your accounts, especially if they're a larger account. When you get unfollowed, that's a rumor I'm hearing. I don't want to spread rumor, but I think it's true. So now I'm being a lot more proactive. I'm using the list that X Deep Thought put out. And I'm reporting and blocking. And, you know, if people are following me and unfollowing me and they're scammy, I'm going to report and block them. I'm done. I am DONE. It might not get us anywhere. It might not be helping the collective, but I sure feel better doing it because I am sick. Like this whole system is so broken with the reporting. The only people that are incentivized to report are the people that are trying to hurt other accounts, rather than there's no incentive to you personally, other than maybe you're one of those people that put the shopping cart back. There's really no incentive for you to take the time out of your day to report these people. You know, and like we have to change our mindset, because it's not just about creator revenue, it's about the quality of the platform. Right now, I started an alt. Dude, it's all garbage on that alt feed. I can't invite somebody over, and I have gotten a couple of people to come to X, and they're like, why are you here? It's all garbage. That's not what you know, there's so much amazing content. It should not be being flooded out by all that ridiculous noise. And the only way it's going to change, I think, is if we, you know, we collectively just make it part of our culture that A, at the very minimum, don't engage with it, but B, also be proactive. And by being proactive, like I had maybe 4 people unfollow me in the last 3 days. Like that's below normal, actually. So I think maybe the purge stopped people from following me that would have followed.
Yeah, and so this is interesting. I just checked because I was curious. Like I know in the past, I haven't checked in a very, very long time. If I send a Spaces link in incognito browser. Oh wait, no, I'm logged in on that browser. I'm going to try on a different browser. If I send a Spaces link, if I'm able to just jump in that space anonymously without logging in, I think that would be like a cheat code to getting people in interested in X, because like you share a space like this with people who are like, oh, what are you up to on X? What are you doing? It's like, oh, come hang out in this space with me and get to know some of the cool people that I've met on the platform. And, you know, just like that kind of an environment. And then they can like participate or not anonymously, but if they like are like, oh, that's kind of cool, maybe I'll create an account and then can jump in and have the conversations and stuff. I think this is like a backdoor way of getting people here, like avoiding the timeline. Like if you can just keep them off of that timeline for a while, they will probably enjoy themselves, or at least have it as a ballast, you know. So it's like, oh, remember the space, you met some really cool people and now they're on your feed and you're following them and stuff. And you know, just kind of leveling it out a little bit so it's not all garbage, right? You kind of have to, you have to figure out a way to curate people's feeds before they even start. Because yeah, my alt accounts are just like complete train wrecks. And you know, like I just opened it up because I use one to record this space, and I see ads for X. You know, I'm like, what's going? What is going on over there on the non-premium accounts? It's just, it's another planet, it really is. And also being a new account, like Aura's saying, it's just like it's not fun. It's, unless you have a core group of accounts that you're following or that you know, it's not interesting either. It's just kind of ragey or really thin content. You know, the famous one-liners that we all know and love, those get fed to you on a silver spoon when you're a new account, and you get to answer what your favorite pizza is and, you know, all these fun questions. So yeah, that's why I want to really trying with Spaces, trying this. So anyone here, I mean, Aura knows a lot of people that she's tried. I have a few people that I've tried and have come over, but then don't stay for very long. So I am trying this approach, you know, having the spaces to share, and then also having it as the podcast, which you can share out as well with people so they can like hear you chatting with somebody about a topic and kind of get interested in it that way and maybe want to join. And just use X with Spaces. I mean, I think that's definitely an angle. I mean, Jeff's down there listening. He's been very active in Spaces. That's basically all I know about him is from Spaces. And there's probably a lot of people in this room that all they know about me is from Spaces, maybe have checked my timeline from time to time or had me pop up in the feed. I don't know. So that is an approach, and you can get to be a fairly respected account. Like people, I show up in some spaces sometimes and people are like, oh, Kate's here. Oh, I hope she can come up and speak, blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm like, well, that's cool. Like, I think that's a really cool reaction to get in a moment. And then people want to hear from me. Whereas like if I post on my timeline and maybe it doesn't get that many views and not that many people see it or like it or anything, it's not a great feeling, right? We want that dopamine hit from a post. And so, you know, it's really a good approach, especially if you know someone is really good at just having conversations and talking about topics. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to ramble too. Thanks, Aura. Permission to ramble. It's great. It's a lot of fun. I'm trying to figure out how to open Safari. I don't even know if I have it on my computer here. To see if I can open the space without being logged into X. I am curious about that.
So our first actionable advice is get people into spaces anonymously. That's what we've got. That's what we've come up with so far.
Well, yeah. I mean, you listen to podcasts anonymously, right? You don't. Oh, look, it says I can listen anonymously. Let's see if I can do it. Yes, I can listen to the space. I don't have to be logged in. So there you go. And that's on the website. So if people are on their phone, I'm sure you're prompted to download the app, and it's probably not possible on the phone. So that's, I don't know. I haven't tested that. Someone maybe could test that by, uninstalling X and then trying to listen to a space. I guess that would mean, yeah, it would prompt you to download the app, and then you would have to log in. I'm guessing that's how it works. Anyone with any insights, please. But so that's an idea. If you're trying to get someone to come to X, yeah, keep them off the timeline, send them the spaces link, say, hey, go on your computer, listen to the space, listen to the conversation. And if you're really enjoying it or want to add something, you can create an account and jump in.
Maybe make a group for new people. It's kind of like a quarantine holding cell for X, and then you just start feeding them good stuff from X, and then they can if they're interested, they can follow those accounts and get into that sort of an engagement group, if you will.
Yeah, kind of like what a community should be, really. You can send someone to a community, they can jump in there, they can see the posts of the active people in the community, see what they're up to, what's going on, jump in the spaces and not go to the timeline. Have the group be the home page. That would be perfect. Yeah. That's a good idea.
Well, let's be honest, they're going to go there anyway. So maybe the first thing you do is say, like, start customizing your timeline, start saying, I'm not interested in this, and then engage with the stuff that you are interested in, repost or comment or whatever. And that should fairly quickly get them to like a decent space with whatever they're interested in.
Yeah, it's tough. It really is. I do, man, it's hard because like you tell someone come to a space and then, they click off and go on the timeline and then it's just like, you know, raging and then the other spaces, right? It's like, oh, what's crypto? Ooh, what's
How do I set up my NFT wallet? That's going to be great.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean it's a minefield. It really is. But that comes with the freedom, right? That's
What percentage of spaces would you say are actually like good and entertaining or educational in any way?
I mean, I'd say 1% easily. I mean, because like anytime I want to just listen, like I'm in a kind of a mood, I want to listen to something, like I listen to a podcast, but I'm like, I enjoy spaces. I enjoy the live aspect of it that I can jump in if I want. I go to the spaces tab and there's nothing, like literally nothing to listen to. Um, yeah, so that's way more often than there is something. So, that I do think that algorithm, whatever it is in that spaces tab, is seriously terrible and broken. So I'm not seeing everything that I might actually enjoy. But if I can't
Yeah.
find it, it doesn't exist.
And they have no way to filter the spaces. Like if somebody's doing like an adult content space or something that's like, that's just a really bad topic, like something violent or like hateful or something. There's no way to filter that. Everybody sees that content, even if you have like the sensitive content selections, activated on your account or whatever. So they need to fix that too. And you know what I like about spaces, even if I'm not talking, is that I have been in enough spaces and I have been on X for long enough that I know so many of you. And so even if I'm not talking, just listening to you all chat, it feels like a community. It feels like I'm sitting with my friends because I know you all. I know your voices. I'm familiar with your ideas, what you're talking about, what you're interested in. And yeah, so even if I'm just listening, I still feel like part of the group just because I know you all so well, in a sense.
Yeah, I likened it to a little like party at someone's house, like, oh, my friend invited me, I'm gonna come and just sit here awkwardly next to the dip and celery sticks and listen to the conversation until someone says something that maybe I can chime in about, or someone introduces me to someone else, that kind of thing. So that's the vibe I kind of akin spaces to. And when it's like a little bit like spicy or topics I'm not maybe want to be associated with, doesn't mean I don't want to listen. So maybe I'll put in a listen anonymous, right? But I just don't want people to know I want to listen. And then there's the other ones where it's just really a deep conversation. And I imagine sitting at like one of those big tables in a manor and everyone's having a conversation of their own. That would be kind of cool to be able to do. All right, so we got some more people to add to the combo here and some more listeners. Thanks so much for joining us all down there. This is a great room of people here. So if you're seeing some new faces down there, the listeners, and up on stage, you haven't met some of these folks yet, check out their profiles. I encourage you to follow each other if you're not already. I'm sure most of you are already, but the cool people do show up here, so it's worth checking them out. We'll go to Aura, and then, we got Gunky, so we'll go to Gunky after Aura.
Okay, so I can't even remotely claim what the percentage of good spaces that are spaces out there, but I have found that there does seem to be a higher ratio of high quality spaces with smaller spaces, in my opinion. I do try to be careful about attending spaces, and I'll go in anonymously if it's an unknown, to kind of check out the lay of the land, because I don't want my followers following me into a space. If I request a mic on a space, I'm endorsing you. That's what that is, because I know people will see that. And so I try to be careful about that and make sure that I'm only taking mics in spaces where there's really high quality conversation. And I think that, when I go to the larger spaces, man, so often there's like a clickbait title, and that's what drew me in, because it's a topic I'm really interested in. And then I get in there and it's just all this Jerry Springer type crap happening. I get mad like every time. So there are very few large spaces that I actually will go into without being anonymous first, and very few that I feel are quality, to be quite honest. I mean, they might be entertaining if you like Jerry Springer, but that's not what I want. I want to be able to listen to spaces and hear different thoughts, or learn something, or just have fun while I'm doing my housework, man. Is that too much to ask?
We could do the Jerry Springer thing. What do you think, Kate?
I think I'll leave.
Well, yes, the showmanship of Jerry Springer, I agree with you, Aura. There is a side to him where he would, like at the beginning of the show, when he'd bring the Nazi youth guy with the mohawk and the nose ring that attaches to the earlobe out, and he'd be sitting out there alone. It would be a genuine like interview, and he was very like a curious guy. So I like that part of it. So maybe we could do something like that.
Those are actors.
We can go more Sally Jesse Raphael.
What's the difference?
Oh, what's the difference? Yeah, laugh at that, Rich. Ridiculous.
Seriously, what's the difference?
Ridiculous. I'm not even gonna give that name.
There's a difference, Christopher.
Is it the difference between throwing chairs and not throwing chairs?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And but the kind of an open forum type of interview where he wasn't afraid to interview anybody. Like there wasn't, if someone said, "Oh, you shouldn't talk to that person," he did. So that I do appreciate. That mentality is completely vanished from our society. It's now actually like
Don't talk to people.
platforming people that are against your beliefs is actually like evil for some reason. So yeah, it's kind of interesting twist how when we lost Jerry Springer, some of the
It's all
I'm
yeah.
not gonna-
The entire culture war was set off by Jerry Springer leaving the air.
I just had a
Yeah, go Rich.
I was gonna say I had a thought. We could do like I know Aura's like I'm gonna leave, but it would be funny to do like a Jerry Springer style show, but make it like relevant to X. Like find some people who have had public beef on the timeline, and like have somebody come into the show think they're just being interviewed, and then have the other person come in as the guest speaker and like put them head to head and have them talk about what's been going on. It would be hilarious.
It's a fantastic idea for a show, and yes, I'm not going to do it. Don't you worry, because this is not something I'm interested in doing. But
You can do what you want, Kate. I just won't attend that show. I don't think you would make it a full-on thing unless you got huge impressions, and then be a sellout if you want. I'm just not going to hang out with you anymore.
Oh,
no, like it's a good. It would be a good idea in the sense that it would be incredibly entertaining. I mean, these types of shows were successful. Ethically, yeah, I do not agree with it. Like as far as having someone tell their story and then confront the opposing party in a public forum where emotions are high and things can be said that maybe they didn't mean and all this kind of thing. Like I don't necessarily agree with that ethically, but to say it definitely would do well. Definitely would be entertaining. It would have a lot of anonymous listeners, that's for sure.
I think it would have to be scripted, just like Spring was probably scripted.
yeah.
You
I
know?
was just gonna say, like, if it came out that they were all actors and actresses, would you really be surprised? Because the same shit happens in every episode. Chairs get thrown around, People's like, oh, suddenly I'm gonna reveal this really secret thing about you. This guy takes pills all the time, then he sells them to third graders.
I actually know someone that got invited to Springer, and dude, they had a whole made up story. It's just the craziest stuff. But what I'm talking about in those spaces, it feels very scripted sometimes. Like I've seen they're just nitpicking and fighting, and you just said that, even though we all heard the person not say it. And then they're just dragging out some stupid fight for like 10, 15 minutes or even longer. And that's just gross to me. It's gross. Like I want you've heard it, you've seen it, and why? I don't understand why people are drawn to that. But it's to me it's almost like bullying, except for even though it's scripted, right? And people are entertained by it, it's like they're bullying people. And I don't like bullies. I think that even if somebody is being a total asshat and they're totally wrong, they're still a human being, and I want to treat them with as much consideration as I can. And if they're too angry, I will just leave them alone. I'm not gonna call them names and scream and yell at them. Like, just take away their mic and move on. Like, really.
Yeah, agreed. I would hate watch, but not participate.
I don't know. I feel like we really have something here.
Yeah, and it is I mean, someone should take this idea. I mean, it's terrible, but again, people, as long as I think with something like that, if you want to confront somebody or something, part of the entertainment is that they don't know about it, right? And that's where the ethical line is crossed. Because I would want to make sure everyone's informed about like what's about to happen. But again, when it's on a space, they can just hit the leave button and leave. But if someone feels cornered, they might act in a way that's not normal to their regular behavior or whatever. Geez, it's like the this is tough, but it's entertainment. Anyway, so yeah, someone should do something with this idea. I hope you do.
And we got Jeff G here. How many Jerry Springer episodes have you seen?
Well, we'll get to Jeff in a minute because Gunky had his hand up for a while, and I'm sure it's exactly what we're talking about right now. What you wanted to chat about.
Hi, can you hear me okay? Because I'm trying a new setup.
We can hear you. It is a little bit like crumbly. Is that the right word?
Is that any better?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Do people know that Spaces dashboard exists?
I do, and it's a very useful
Yes.
tool.
Cool. Yeah, so I mean, you can always find a space somewhere in the world. There's currently, best part of 5,000 now live, 566 going on in English. Yeah, Spaces dashboard's quite handy. The 50th, what about a Hawaiian theme? The old 50. Could have a competition for Hawaiian, I don't know, profile picture or just a Hawaiian themed picture. That's just an idea. And the other thing was, I'm right this second, I'm working on a graphic to sort of illustrate the different types of spaces and how they work. And it's got like one's the mosh pit, one's the sauna. But you've got like the TED Talks, that's the speaker, you're all listeners, the round tables, the king and his court kind of thing, where it's this just a dictator in the host position. Yeah, and just, it's a work in progress, but trying to sort of define what type of space it is. Because I just don't like the chaos, and I don't like, sometimes I feel the host cuts some people, gives them far too much rope, really, I feel, before they should just mute, gone. And they sort of forget that we're all listening to this. Why do we have to listen to this? But yeah, that was it, really.
There's definitely cult type spaces out there where it's like everybody's got the same PFP and they're all like, yeah, it's usually like a crypto thing, but I think a better category is just cult like spaces.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest space in the world at the moment, there's nearly 8,000 people in it, and it's the TNT Dina update. I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what that is either. I'm intrigued. Color me intrigued. Maybe we should just move over there.
Space hop.
I love that idea,
No.
Gunky, of categorizing the spaces. And if you're out cruising around all day, you can share a space and you can put the little badge with it when you share it, and give a review or something. That might be a fun angle to take, and with a little bit of a meme and sense of humor to it. Might be a fun thing to post, and probably would get people to follow you, especially people who are interested in spaces, to find out what ones are good and to check out next time, or if it's a regular show, or if it's just a one-off or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I feel like we need some sort of jargon. If someone just says, "Oh, it's a Jerry Springer," don't bother kind of thing, and or it's a mosh pit, or my favourite one I invented is the sauna. The idea is you get the sauna up to temperature, and then all the host does every now and then is a little spoonful of water just to keep the steam up, and that's all they do. It's a kind of hands-off hosting sauna.
There's also what I would basically describe as your local bar. Everybody's just drunk and just like, it's kind of a mess, but it's also kind of fun at the same time. But that's like how these shows exist. They're just like everybody get drunk and get on Saturday night.
Well, I go into famous in my phone. He does this 24-hour thing every Wednesday, and I always now, my routine, don't tell him, is I just listen anonymously, and I just find out where it's at, because there's a silly period when he's been at it for like 18 hours, and then I don't think he drinks at all, but it kind of sobers up a little bit in the last couple of hours, and there's a clever period for an hour or two, and then there's chaos for a while, and people turning up with soundboards and drunken Englishmen going a bit crazy, and big opinions coming in, going nowhere. And yeah, so I quite like that space. It would be a good like sociological experiment to just listen to his whole 24-hour space and watch the ebb and flow of the thing over a 24-hour period.
Yeah, I just pinned that up above because that's a fun space to jump in and out of when you know that there's his space is 24 hours on Wednesdays and bleeding into Thursday. And you can just kind of, like I was saying earlier, I just am kind of in a little spaces kind of mood. I don't want to, spin one up and host it or anything. I just want to jump in and have a chat. No pressure. Don't have to be performative or have really an original thought of any kind, you know, you can just pop into there. So I put that up above. Anyone hasn't checked it out, you know, after this one, if you're looking for another space to go in, you can hop over there and tell him I sent you, and you know, spread the love around. A great account to follow. He's also very entertaining and fun on the timeline, lighthearted, positive, that kind of stuff. Accounts that we really enjoy sharing around here. And another great account to follow around in spaces. So this is another tactic, is to find some cool people and have notifications on, and then you get a notification when they are speaking in a space. And Jeff always knows where the good spaces are. He is a fantastic person to follow around if you want to find some really good technology spaces. Also, like other topics, like wide ranging of topics, but they're always these very good discussion spaces, kind of like these ones. And so I want to introduce Jeff. If you haven't met him yet, how you doing today, Jeff? Are you able to speak? I'm going to take that as a no. He's also usually on the job when he's jumping into spaces. So, Jeff, if you can hear me, feel free to jump in at any time, and we'll yield to you so you can, when you have a limited chance to add your thoughts, just jump right in and we'll let you pop in. But Gunky, before we go to Artist Journey, I want to ask you, what did you categorize, or would you categorize my spaces? What would you say they are?
Dictatorship. No. Conversational. You know, I think you know, I sort of include myself in the group these days, maybe, but you know, I feel that way, which is great. I think hard to categorize. It's a round table, I would say. Arguably, it's a round table. Everyone gets a chance. There's no restrictions on people speaking. If anyone holds their hands up, you know. And from my point of view, this has been kind of my whole introduction into talking in spaces, is coming in here and joining in. You know, playing follow my leader with Chris.
Yeah.
And
you this is not the experience you'll generally get. It's way more of a shit show on other ones. I think it's helpful to like run your own spaces or be a co-host, because then you can kind of like manage that chaos.
Yeah, and Christopher is a fantastic leader to follow if you're looking for someone to has as a cult leader, just in your own mind. It doesn't mean he's actually doing it, but you're just thinking that way. You know, he's a great one to pick for that.
Yeah,
I
let's go with
enjoy
that narrative. Yes.
And yeah, and I'm glad you said that, Gunky. I do have a little bit of a dictatorship. I do like to have control of the space. I do enjoy that bit of power. It feels good. I don't have it most of the rest of the day, you know, in general, in my everyday life. So I do enjoy having a couple hours in the week to just be the one at the top with my little crown on and all that stuff. But at the same time, I want to have it be an open conversation so everyone feels welcome. Anyone can come up and share whatever they want. I mean, we can talk, we're talking about connections and capabilities and how they relate to each other as a content creator, but anyone's here is welcome to take the conversation wherever they want to go with it, and or share what they are doing on this platform, because that's how we get to know each other. And, you know, I'm constantly evolving with the content I'm putting out. So, you know, it's good to update as we go along, move along. Even though some of you, you know, come regularly, it's always good to get a little bit of like, oh, what's new, what's happening, what are you working on, that kind of stuff. I do enjoy that. And we'll go ahead to Artist Journey, another fantastic account on this platform to follow. So create some really cool things with AI and other stuff. So how are you today?
Doing well, thanks. Hi, everybody. Good to hear y'all voices. A lot of fun conversations and talk. Yeah, I just wanted to come in and say hi. In terms of, I was just thinking about the Jerry Springer thing. Hate to bring it back there. I was just thinking, instead of that, though, you know, if you had like AI voices for example, like parody of celebrities, and then you get them to kind of go against each other in a Jerry Springer format. I would say that's like less intrusive of actually real people using their real profiles and just using those fake ones to kind of like prompt in a discussion about what's going on. And it's more in, I would say that's a little bit more punching up because, you know, you're going against like these celebrities and against people who are like, who might have like these personal grudges online, which is so funny because it's like very high school dilemma-ish. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting. In terms of like gathering people into X, my some of my best friends, I just met with them the other day because both of them, you know, their wives are pregnant. This is going to be like the last time we're going to meet in like 6 to a year from now. So we had like a last parting hang up, which is kind of funny. And they just finally started getting into using AI, like using ChatGPT, LLMs. I was telling them about it for a while. My friend's even a programmer. He makes apps, but he was just like, no, I'm not really into it. But he was really into it now and try to, they don't even use social media about trying to show them like, well, there's some good things about, you know, X and some things are available to check out. But it really is like going through the reads and finding and picking your things. So definitely glad I found everyone here because, like I mentioned before, you know, I this is like one of my favorite spaces. It's very calm, it's very easygoing, still always insightful conversations. It's always about having a great host or number of hosts. You three are amazing at this. So I just want to get that support. I want to send you your flowers if that's the way to go. But always enjoy listening to all y'all and hope you have a great time. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. And I always enjoy when you come stop in. And I do love that idea of using AI as a way to get people to come over here as well, because I think the AI community, when you kind of get in that world, break through into that bubble, silo, whatever that is on X, that if that infiltrates your feed, it makes your feed really interesting, like lots of innovative stuff happening from first off with the apps, and the tools and the stuff that we all love and use, posting like every day with something amazing, groundbreaking, where you're like, my mind's exploding. How do I use this? That plus the amazing minds on here and the amazing creative people that are on here posting their stuff. So once you kind of get your feed inundated with all that, it's really a cool place. So that's an interesting angle too, to get people over here, is to kind of get them, show them some of the really great AI accounts. And once they start interacting with those, then the feed starts to get piled up and filled with that kind of content, which is just always so good. And most of it is positive. There's only like a few, of course, the haters, right? Whatever. It's like so obvious, the hater accounts. It's like, it almost seems fake. Like I don't even believe it, because it's just like, it's so comically weird, like how they hate on stuff. It's very troll like. So I don't even take it seriously. But everything else beyond that, it's just like very much a positive atmosphere, and a great bubble to be in, I think. And if someone is discovering AI for the first time, which is really a great time to show people, if you had showed people a year ago, 2 years ago, some things with ChatGPT or other AI stuff that you were playing around with, and this happened to me a lot. I'd show somebody something and I'd be like, okay, come up with something that we could do with this image generator. And they're like, oh, well, let's make my cat a superhero or something. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And then I do it and it looks terrible. Right. And then that's just like, boom, checked out. Like that first interaction can be a bad experience. And then just kind of like people don't care. Like they're not hating on it. It's just not interesting or cool, or they don't see the purpose of it. Where now, if you do something like that with somebody, you can probably get it to do it in the first go and have it be really cool. So you could impress them with an image or a video, or using ChatGPT or Grok or something to do something that they're trying to do and having a hard time with, and be like, hey, you have a ton of this information and you need it in a spreadsheet. Here, let me show you how to do that with ChatGPT in like 2 seconds, and blow their minds.
Yeah, I was going to just add to that quickly. That's a really good point in the sense where, AI is permeating every aspect of our life so much that there's like endless types of use cases that people can use and kind of be introduced into using it. So, how I'm using it will be completely different to my friend's partner, where they're thinking more about Excel sheets or cooking, making a like checking their fridge, taking a photo, but just introducing it in that way of like the multi-case uses of using AI and whatnot. And yeah, it's always changing. So I think that's how I got into using X more, was because the amount of things that are constantly updating is just so overwhelming. But then at least it's always the most up to date I find here compared to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a bit. I feel like they always repurpose things they find on X, and they're like professional grifters that go there and they just kind of showcase, and everyone's like, this is amazing, but they don't tag properly. It's just a whole different ecosystem of what's happening there. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how things are moving, and how like AI can be used, and kind of introducing it that way to a lot of people, because like they it's such an open blanket phrase, and it can be kind of inundated with a lot of different perspectives. So finding a way to kind of get them into it can make a huge difference for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And my best technique for that is when don't just knock on someone's door, they open it and you start telling them about AI. It's, you're hanging out with friends, hanging out with your parents, your family, whatever, and they start complaining about something with their work or whatever. The people will complain. People just do that. It's just part of how we communicate. It's like something gets under our skin or bothers us, we'll bring it up. And then you just think of the simplest way you could take and make that problem a little bit easier for them to deal with AI, and then show them in that moment. And that's going to be the most powerful way to really get people to have that seed planted of how they can use it. And because it can be, it's basically like staring into the universe, like, where do I go? I don't know. So giving them an actual specific use case that fits them in that moment is incredibly powerful. And they may not use it again right away, but they have that seed planted. And then when something comes up similar, they'll be like, oh, maybe I could use AI. Or, you can, it happens again. You say, hey, remember when I showed you how to use ChatGPT for that? Why don't you do it for this too? It's going to work just as good. And then it gets people in that mindset. And yeah, it's very powerful that way. But force feeding it, it's never going to work, or sending them a website link and being like, here, figure it out. It's never going to work. It's too much. It's too much. Yeah. So great points. And another way to build connections on here, if you are into AI and you're looking to meet people, there's a lot of good AI spaces and on here as well. So you can look for those. All right, so we're back to you, Aura. Thank you for being so patient with your hand there. Oh, I guess Aura's
At Costco.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I was in the living room. I'm cleaning house and doing dishes. And
Buried in kids.
yeah, yelling kids. Here, I'll walk out on the porch. So at the beginning of the space, you were saying, Kate, that people could come up and maybe get feedback and yada yada. And we're talking about spaces. So I'm curious if anybody here who's been to any of my spaces has some constructive criticism for the space. I don't want compliments. Just constructive criticism, because I am trying to become a better host. I never walked into this thinking that I was even capable of hosting. So yeah, now I'm past the stage fright most days, and I really want to, tips, please, and thank you.
From what I've seen, and I haven't seen a lot, but you usually have like kind of a theme, but it gets sidetracked very quickly, and it seems like it's difficult to get back to that. You just kind of go with the flow, which, if that's the vibe of your space, that's fine. But, something to think about.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
because
Yes, we do. I'm really ADHD.
that doesn't happen to our space at all.
Yeah, no, we're pros at this. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I would say for me, yeah, the topic with what I found what works for me is, yeah, having a general topic so people can see and understand, like, okay, this is what we're talking about in the space, right in the title. Like, they don't have to do any thinking beyond that. I've learned that over time, like it being a kind of like confusing, vague, open-ended, it then I have to do a lot of heavy lifting, right? Whereas if there's a topic and people can kind of get it right away and maybe can have thoughts on it, like just with a little bit of prompting, now I can, I know people are going to come up and add something good and have a lot to talk about, and I can kind of sit back and breathe and listen and then take me to different places. That's how I enjoy hosting spaces, because I do like the idea of having my mind taken places where I wouldn't on my own. So that's for my ultimate goal for the space. So for you, Aura, your ultimate goal for the space, what is it? Like, is it for you to just communicate information you have to people? Is it to have a conversation about different subjects? Is it to maybe learn what other people are doing? And then figuring out the best way to get that, either you're talking the whole time and just getting feedback from people, or are other people talking and you're giving them feedback? What's the dynamic? And then once you kind of have that honed in, it'll make sense, and then everything will fall into place. Because for me, with your spaces, which I really enjoy and I do listen to, and I will come up and speak when I can, I find them very informative about like the latest things going on with X, and like the changing dynamics of the algorithm and features, and the rumor mill, which you are very much tapped into the rumor mill on X, which I just love. So like that's why I enjoy listening to it. But
Can we clarify that by rumor mill, we're talking about the platform, not people? Because we don't do rumors about people. Just want to make clear that.
Oh, yes, no, not about specific people, not a gossip space. That's not what I meant. Like changes on the
I knew
platform.
what you meant.
Yeah.
I just make sure nobody else misunderstood, because I don't want people coming in and talking about, so and so did this or so did that, unless it's really important, or you really want to support somebody who's doing something amazing. We do try to keep positive. Thank you so much. I think that you're right on the topic. What's been happening is I just, I create the space and then I do the topic later. Because it's every week and we never know what the heck's going to be happening in X land. Today's Wednesday, by tomorrow's space, there could be an entirely new feature or crisis that is going to be the conversation. So, but I do like that, and I just find lately I'm doing way too much talking. So I need to pinpoint that and figure out how to get more interaction from other people. And it's definitely for me, because I have questions or observations and I need to know what other people know, because there's way smarter people than me that come to these spaces. So it's awesome when they come and drop knowledge for all of us. And then there's a lot of it nobody knows, but noodling it together helps. And I see that a lot of that in your space. I mean, because I love your space.
Yeah, so we come up with our topics like usually the few hours before the space. And it's usually the three of us, we kind of chat about it a little bit, to see what we could each maybe add something to. If it spurs a little conversation in the chat, then we know, okay, we need to stop chatting about it and that'll be the topic, and we can just save it for the space. And then when it comes to like the X topics and the latest changes in the platform and everything, I mean, that's something people love talking about and love sharing what they discovered. So possibly just posing that question of what have you been noticing on X lately. I want to know what you've seen. What's your, putting out these questions that people can answer, like anyone can answer that. And then that will be an invitation for anyone who's able to speak to come up, because they'll be able to share. And you can then maybe make it more specific, the question more specific as time goes on, when you kind of get deeper into stuff. Like, is it are you talking about spaces? Are you talking about the For You page? Are you talking about, whatever, so what are people seeing? That might help. I don't know. But you do great. Do your thing. And I really enjoyed your interview. I thought that was a very good format that you should pursue more of too.
Yeah, I totally want to do that more. If anybody down there wants to be interviewed, I mean, I'm not saying you're guaranteed that I'm going to interview you, but if you want to be interviewed or plug something that's a little more in depth, feel free to DM me, because yeah, I love doing the interviews. I haven't done one in, gosh, over 6 months. And I got to tell you, it is, because I do a lot of research, right? Like if I'm going to interview you, Kate, I'm going to spend all the time from when we agreed to do the interview researching as much about your life as I can, so that, I'm pulling that out of you. Because I don't think most people just get up and, hey, I'm Aura, I'm a grandmother of 4 and blah, 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 blah. Most people don't have, or at least not the people I want to interview, right? So thanks for that.
Yeah.
I would say that's a more professional way to go about interviews. Yes.
Oh, that was a dig at me, because my interview style is I want to know as little as humanly possible about somebody before I interview them. And I want to discover it with the audience. And that's just my approach. So I think that there's 2 approaches to that kind of thing. Neither one, in my opinion, is better than the other. But yeah. I mean, I won Christopher over when I interviewed him. I mean, this is a great tactic too. If you're trying to meet somebody, maybe romantically, get involved with them, you can ask
You were
Kate.
trying to meet somebody?
No, I'm saying other people. If they, oh wait,
She was totally trying to meet somebody.
if you are genuinely interested in somebody, usually asking them if they want to do a space together so you can find out more about them. It doesn't have to be a formal interview or whatever. Have a conversation. That might be
I think that's hilarious. Ask if you can interview. Like, hey, I think you're hot. I'm really interested. Can I do an interview?
So the next time that you interview a guy, should I be worried?
No, I'm taken. It's just my curiosity I'm feeding. But this is a move. I mean, the digital age, it's a different move than saying, hey, want to go get a cup of coffee or go to a movie or something. You have to be a little creative. Yeah. So, right. So that's a great point. The spaces, if you want to get to know somebody better, it's a great tactic. And I'm joking about being a romantic proposition, but it's also just a great way to feature an account that is awesome, that maybe isn't getting the reach that you think they deserve. Like if Aura, you did an interview with Green Man, that would be amazing. You would be like the perfect person to do that, because you know him so well and
She
you're
has.
a fan.
I was like, you have Aura. Haven't you done an interview before? I'm pretty sure I was there.
Yes, I've interviewed Green Man twice. I interviewed him once. Gosh, that was a long time ago. So, and then I interviewed him on Smash or Pass. You were there, Rich. I believe you were the co-host for that show. And he was just fabulous to interview. And I'm sure I'll interview him again. I'm so sorry. She's being very angsty at the moment. That's Swiggy. Say hi, Swiggy. No, she says no. And yeah, I would highly recommend, if you have space and you do interviews, Green Man's a great guest. And he's just got an insanely fascinating life and is really smart and good. Like you barely have to question him. He bring, kind of like Heidi was, right? You just had to throw out a little bit, and then she was actually covering 10 questions down in her answer. But that's tricky. You got to be prepared with new questions if they cover all your questions before you ask them.
Yeah, it is an art form for sure. And for me, the having a list of general questions mapped out is really helpful. And I leave space, like, so if I'm doing it, I have a paper and I have like the general questions that are very like surface level that I want to ask. And I have space in between. And then as I go through those questions, then more questions come from those answers. And I can kind of do it in like a little bit of a flow. And that's kind of my style of stuff because like I'm not for me it's more of an informal conversation style versus like an interview format of like a show where we see two people talking on stage and that kind of format, I guess. But those are I love all that, either one. It's all a fantastic listen, but you just have to understand as a host what you're comfortable with. So through hosting spaces and just getting into it, then you kind of discover like what works for you and what you enjoy and what you're even like I don't want to feel stressed out hosting a space, so if anyone here hosts spaces and you're feeling stressed out when you're getting ready to start it, it's beyond just the initial like, oh, I have this to-do list I have to do like 15 minutes before a space and it's a little frantic. Like that's just what it is. I just mean in general, that feeling like we all know getting up, oh, I have to go to work today, like that kind of feeling when it comes to your spaces or whatever. It might be time to pivot or figure out what it is that you're doing that's not fulfilling you, because there's no one making you do any of this stuff. So
Yeah, you should manufacture a way to run your space, topics you want to talk about where you're excited about doing it or you think it's going to be really fun, like if you're looking at it as like a job and, oh, I have to do this because it's time to do this, something's wrong. You gotta fix that because nobody's making you do this, right? Are they?
no one has a gun to my head right now at this point in time. No, they don't.
It's like a
Nope.
taken situation. You gotta like.
Are you sitting right there with Christopher? Like, are you guys playing around?
Technically, we're in two separate rooms right now because of
Oh,
the
you
mic
are?
situation.
Yeah, I'm in his bed right now. Actually, I can imagine that.
Can you imagine that?
Can you imagine that? And he's in the office. Yeah, we were trying to figure out how we could do it side by side, but just with like I'm recording it and also hosting the space on my phone, and it's just too much going on. And then I kind of like to be in an isolation tank while hosting these so that I'm not distracted. I'm really listening and engaging with everybody and paying attention. And then I'm able to also get into the notifications, etc. So, yeah, so let's go ahead to Gunky and then I'll do a little quick reset of the space and welcome anyone new who's popped in. You're always welcome to request the mic, join us up on stage, say hi. So Gunky, what's up?
Well, we're all trying to create the Goldilocks space, the perfect space, but I think you just have to have tolerances. And I am, to Aura's point of sort of running better spaces, I do think a good co-host, a co-host who you trust, who you respect, who you understand, who maybe just has a safe word for if you're kind of overcooking something, someone who can sort of pull at the reins and just kind of, hey, because we all get carried away with our own internal conversation, and that's part of it. In terms of running an interview space, I think the best thing you could do, like anything, is go and watch YouTube videos of some of the greatest interviewers from late night talk shows. Watch them, find a style you feel you might emulate, and look at what they're doing, because what they're doing it's that duck thing, isn't it? You know, they're floating, but they're paddling furiously. There's a script. They've been in the green room. They've got to know their guests. They've decided what can be spoken about, what can't be spoken about, how much time they're going to give them to plug their book or whatever. Yeah. And that's another thing with pulling up guests is sort of, you know, what are they selling? Come to my space and, you know, we'll have a conversation. I'll interview you and you can do your new book or your new show or whatever it might be. So yeah, I look at the greats. I mean, personally, I believe that Mike Yarwood, the not is it Mike Yarwood? Let me just quickly Sir Michael Parkinson in Britain was the best interviewer because he lulled them into this sense of security that they just get people. His guests used to just give away so much of themselves, really, and it could get quite personal and everybody was happy and it was mellow and it was never confrontational and he could read his guest really well. That's the only trouble with interviewing on the radio effectively on Spaces is you can't see that little eyebrow lift where they're like, yeah, hey, don't go there, don't talk about my cats, you know, or whatever it might be. So yeah, I think good co-hosts really is the key to good spaces. Co-hosts that can just kind of control one another, you know, and stop it turning into a rodeo, you know. Co-hosts, rodeo clowns, same kind of thing.
Yes, love that. And I pinned up above. I definitely did research on the interviewers that I'm a fan of and their style, and really did analyze those before I started, or while I was in my process of like hosting spaces. Like last summer, I did all this. I think this post is like from July last year, of my article of from Phil Donahue. I used AI to chat about like Phil Donahue and what was so great about his interview style. So like, you know, Jerry Springer light, you know, like it's definitely an interactive type of show, and making the people feel comfortable and all that kind of thing. And then also, you know, throwing the mic to the audience and getting different opinions from people throughout the room and all this different stuff. So Phil Donahue is one that I looked at very closely. And this is fantastic advice, Gunky. I really like that. I forgot about how useful it is to kind of look at people who are already experts at this stuff and take what they're doing right and just apply it to what you're doing. It's like, why there's no reason you to not do that. The other one that I love is for just like a late night talk show host type of format of an interview is Dick Cavett. And all his shows are on YouTube. And I think maybe one of the streaming like Hulu or something has Dick Cavett show. You can watch those from the 60s and 70s. And he interviews like the top celebrities and musicians and just movie stars were on his show, and he did these little interviews with them that were in a different style than you think of like the Johnny Carson or David Letterman style. It's like a very different style, and I really enjoyed how he would have those conversations on that. So that's another one that's really good to look at. And then Charlie Rose, who has been canceled, I believe, but I always enjoyed his show, his interviews, how he had the conversation with people just in like that black background, a table, and him and his guest. And it just like for me, like completely stripped down and just about the conversation. So those three were my big influences for when I was getting into hosting spaces and looking to like get advice, you know, because like we can use AI to, instead of me sending an email to Charlie Rose, I can use AI to chat about like what is it about his interview style that separates him from everyone else, because like he's the one that's coming to my mind more than anyone else. So why is that? You know, because this is how I like to think about things. If something gets my attention, why is it getting my attention? What's different about it? And now I can use AI to find out. Like it can compare him to every other person who hosts interview shows and pick out those little details is why that style appeals to me. And then I can apply that to what I'm doing. And replicate it. And maybe it's something I'm doing anyway. I don't know.
So, I mean, it's all well and good to watch those people and pick up pointers and everything, but I think what you really want to understand about these people is that they're good because they've done it a million times. So taking tips is great, but you still need that experience. And also, talking about interview styles, uh, one of the things that I see that certain people do in interviews is some of them will do the research, some of them won't do the research, but the ones that don't do the research, they also read a lot. They have a lot of things to talk about that they can kind of use as like a segue to get into that. So even if you don't like the whole idea of like you know doing the research on a specific person, like you can't just be a cipher. You have to have something to say or something to bring up to then relate to whatever they're talking about as a way to get in, like a crowbar. You just, here are the cracks. I can use that to kind of force my way into a deeper conversation.
Yeah. If there's got nothing behind your cold, dead eyes and nothing to offer, yeah. You have to, be considerate of that. And then, yes, of course, reps is the number one thing you can do. Number one thing you can do. You can do all the research in the world. And I think this is where connections is greater than capability comes in. Just doing it. People, you can talk to them. You can host a space with somebody and ask them about, like, I do it with Christopher all the time, and I could do it with Rich. I could do it with Gunky. Aura. I could do it with any of the people in this room, because I know you all have a different story to tell, something that brought you here. That's your own path, your own journey, your own creations, what's led you to where you are today, what you've learned. Like, I could definitely easily do an hour with each person in this room. And that's genuinely because I'm curious and would want to know. But if I'm not interested in those stories, like if that's not my thing, then it's not going to be a good thing to do, other than just getting practice in. So use the connections you have and get that practice in and figure out what you like if you're not sure. So yeah, this is a great conversation where this is headed. Gunky, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm up for it. DM me if anyone wants to do it. Yeah, I think that would be. I think when you study them and I mean, like you're making notes and you're looking at how they introduced their guest, how their opening gambits, the preamble, the and also I think the best interviewers know a lot about their guests. Yeah, they kind of already know the answers, but they've set out a format to present those answers, let the audience see those answers about their guest, but at the same time they can like freewheel. They can go with the flow of the conversation simultaneously, and that's the whole sort of duck paddling kind of thing. And to do the whole thing, they've got an hour. Well, they've got 20 minutes to get as much as they can to wring every last drop out of their guests and to entertain people at the same time. I mean, it's a huge skill, but yeah, it's something. Conversations I'm very fascinated with. I mean, I just chip in here and there, but the other thing, on another point was made. One thing when you talk about the cold thing, I made a comment to someone about a particular British politician. Is they remind me of the dead fish you see occasionally float by when you're fishing on the river. Yeah, just an aside. But the other thing I think I want to do, is to try and bring older people in spaces. Try and get them past. I know two or three of my neighbours are like, they're in their 70s and their phone is basically text and sometimes a phone, and they will still dial on the phone in the house, and trying to sort of say, you know what, that's a flipping, $600 iPhone your son bought you for Christmas, and all you ever do is text. Don't- yeah, just to sort of, just listen to these spaces. It's like it's every, they're they're lonely. A lot of these people are lonely. I might actually do this. Actually, there's a little old people's home at the corner, just around the corner from me. I might just go in there with my phone and my headset and just say, guys, check this out. You know, you could listen to this all day, all night. You know, just plug in your oxygen machine and see what's going on, and join in if you ever feel like it. You know, but yeah, I think yeah, I think the older generation, because they're so sort of you know, they weren't brought up with computers, let alone iPhones and stuff. They're you know, they can't work out their smart TV. They just sit watching BBC and ITV as they have done for like 50 years. I think that would be good. Maybe I mean, maybe we could do something within the community of sort of, you know, some kind of bonus points for bringing someone older than 60 into the community.
Yeah, it's always interesting because they always have a lot of stories. They always have a lot of experience. One that I
Yeah, exactly.
One that I would want to interview is Mark Kelly. He's an artist in the space, photographer, and he gets into AI as well. And he's always interesting to talk to. So I'd love to get him on in an interview format. I would definitely do my research on that person. But yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, we were in a space, Kate, with I believe it was Darby, and her dad was on there, and then there was the other, like, a war vet who was in his 80s that was on the space, and yeah, they were great to talk to. You know, I would like to hear from more people like that in spaces.
Yeah, agreed. And yeah, in Gunky, if you want to, you know, attempt to do something like that in the community, so you get the support, that's, you know, something that we can definitely arrange. You know, these people that are your neighbors or that you know through, I don't know, other things, family members, I don't know, like this, I've always thought about that too as a really good escape, but staying interactive and social, you know, keeping your wits about you, you know, and just avoiding just the endless History Channel programming, that just leaving that on in the background all the time, you know, like there's definitely better ways to spend your older years, I think. And spaces is such a great way to do it. And the amount of wisdom and what they have to offer, you can probably pose someone that age, you could probably pose almost any question and they'd have something of value to share from an experience they've had or anything like that. I mean, I just thinking about, like, you know, if spaces were around 20 years ago, you know, being able to interview people who had been in World War II, um, that would be just like so valuable. And will we think the same thing in 20 years? Like, oh, we should have been interviewing everyone who was in the Vietnam War, or lived through the 60s, you know, that whole change, and being able to tell those stories because that's who's in that age group now.
Are you trying to accuse us boomers of actually knowing something worthwhile?
Jury's still out on that, sir.
How you doing, Jeff? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm a fan of boomers.
Been doing pretty good. Just having actually got a slow spot here today, but just been enjoying the conversations in spaces today, and this one's been great. You know, loving what everybody's got to say. I took my hand down because I would have gone all the way back to when you were talking about the darn TV shows. And I was like, nah, let's not go there. So, but just loving life today and enjoying the space.
Thanks for joining us, Jeff. It's always great to see you. And yeah, I've always been a boomer fan. You know, there are the jokes and everything that we can all say, but the life, that the times, the changes that generation had went through, and still being around for AI and the latest innovations. I mean, think about what technology was in the 50s and late 40s when these people were born, you know, and to today, what that arc is. So there's a lot to understand and insights and things. And going through like, yeah, the Vietnam War for one, it's like we can't relate to that. There's no way we can relate to that.
One of the things that I absolutely love is listening to all the conversations about AI and where it's at today, and thinking back to like 1982 after I'd just gotten out of the military, and a friend of mine introduced me to a little program called Liza, and it was nothing but a psychoanalyst emulator. The whole thing fit on a single 5.25 floppy disk, which meant 512K of memory. And I spent 2 hours arguing with this thing, having the time of my life. But that was actually really the beginnings of AI right there. And so, that's one of the things that I get a chuckle out of, is the fact that I've gotten to watch this entire evolution up to where we're at today. And it's like, I saw this coming 30, 40 years ago, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's so awesome. It's so awesome. And I'm a history fan. And how it all it piles on top of each other and everything. So very cool. And I want to welcome new speaker William May to the stage. I don't think we've met before, so great to see you. Thanks for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good lately, especially this week. I haven't had like many good days in like a while. So, I mean, yesterday was a good day, but like before then, it was like, oh, fuck, just totally depressed. So, you know what? Just rising back up, kind of like a phoenix from its ashes. That's how I'd see it.
Yeah, it's always a ebb and flow of ups and downs. That is life. If it's all one level, that's kind of boring. We want a little bit of pit to crawl out of, and then also some risks to take, jumping over the next one. So, that's the fun of it. So you're new here to the space. I'd love to know what you do here on X and what kind of content you create, or why you're here, basically, so we can get to know you better.
Honestly, at first I created this account to what I do, kind of to troll, but kind of not to troll, kind of to connect with like some old friends as well. But then I thought, all right, well, my friend recommended to use Twitter for connecting via business, and I see someone like Kanye who just keeps on uh defecation posting, to say the least. And I was like, all right, well, you know what? If someone like that can defecate post and launch meme coins and stuff and sell merchandise, you know what? And I see other people in spaces being a bit unprofessional. You know what? Maybe I could do that. It brings out more of a personality, builds trust. And so, like, generally, like, just connections, growing my network. That's my main purpose of this. So I kind of consider X the eat where you defecate app, to say the least. So it's like a almost everything app in that sense.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fun because yes, we like to be talking in here. Sometimes we get a little like serious or dive deep into some specific topics and have really great conversations. But then I also like to just go on the timeline and be super silly and have my fun, and I enjoy the troll content as well. And that's again, like the spice of this app is just amazing. You can have whatever spice you want, whatever particular day it is, whatever mood you're in. If you're feeling down and you want something uplifting or to make you laugh, you can find that. If you're looking for a challenge or a network of people, you can find that. Given whatever you're interested in, and find you can go join a conversation like out of nowhere with some random people you've never met and meet new friends. It's so cool, and that's why we love it here. So welcome. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, so like another thing, like my more serious stuff, I personally like don't necessarily keep on X except networking with people, and maybe like a few links to that in that sense. So, and like speaking about boomers and knowledge earlier, I just wanted to add on like one thing that they definitely do right, I would say, is just having a better attention span. like, let's suppose you take Gen Z. We can't really focus very well. So then what do? We take a whole bunch of like stimulants and stuff just to focus, and it's like our baseline is just that much worse. So it seems as if, just based on that, it's kind of like that's one of the things that I'd say really um makes this generation like a bit worse in some sense, just in terms of working memory, ability to read, and even like do like certain technical skills. Like you definitely need an attention span for that type of stuff. It's like I get like maybe having an attention span might not necessarily be the best thing for creativity, because when you're like out of it, it's like you're thinking outside of the box in that sense. So there are trade-offs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. Yeah, I'm um, of the millennial generation, older millennials that, I didn't have the internet or cell phones till, pretty late in life. And so I do still have somewhat of an attention span, and I can feel it shaving away, like withering away every day. A little bit of it goes away and disappears. But with that, I do see, yeah, creativity kind of blossom from that as well. So there is a trade off there. So being able to focus and buckle down and work on one thing, one project, and get that out to its best ability, and or for a client, or actually go to a job and do that for 8 hours, is it's very a very good skill to have, but then also the ability to pivot and adapt and change and try different things, maybe even multiple things in a day. So like, new AI features drop, and then the six other apps are like, oh, we're going to do the same thing today. And you can go ahead and try all those different things, test different things, and get your, ADD fill, and then scroll the timeline. And it's like, it is a balance. I think you're onto something there, William.
Thanks. Another thing I was going to touch up, I kind of lost my train of thought on this, which was, feel free to DM me later. But my
Yeah,
bad. I forgot what I was going to say.
that's all right. If you think of it, feel free to jump in. We're going to be wrapping the space up here in a little bit. This. Thanks for joining us today. And if you're interested in our spaces, we do these twice a week. This is our Wednesday space. Same time. We start at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then we go for 2 hours. And then on Sundays, we do later in the evening, 6 p.m. Eastern time, and we go for 2 hours. And if you're in the community, you'll get those notifications. So that's super helpful. So you're welcome to join the community, and anyone else here listening, if you're not in there, I do have the link for that pinned up above. So feel free to join, and I will let you in. We do kind of curate the list a little bit so that it is active content creators, people who are creating original content for the platform. That can be, images, video, text, something that we can, add to your thoughts, add your opinion, quote posting, this kind of stuff. So if you're thinking about how you can be a content creator, you don't have to make, 2-hour long videos. You don't have to make TikToks. You can add your commentary, add your point of view, and that is, I think, enough original content to build a profile, build an account on. So I hope you'll do that. And everyone else who's listening, if you're not in, please feel free to join. Yes, Gunky.
Sorry, it's just my sort of train of thought, and I've got to get this joke out. So I was just thinking, who wouldn't go in a space? Yeah, I mean, I could imagine a space that's like over 50s or over 60s or pensioners or whatever it is, the golden girls or what have you, where they're just nattering. They're just having a natter, talking about the golden age, if you like, or the pre-technology age. But then I thought I'd definitely join if they called it the Crone Wars.
The Crone Wars. You know, the only problem with that, I think, is a lot of the boomers and the well, a lot of people who aren't familiar with using platforms like this might have issues like knowing how to work the controls of like when to speak, when to raise your hand, when to chime in, and stuff like that. And there might be a lot of like people speaking over each other, and it might devolve pretty quickly if they didn't have like at least a quick tutorial of how to use the space.
Yeah, that's a good
Well,
point.
maybe we could do that. You know, maybe we could do that. Jeff, talk to your mum.
Well, I think it has more to do with people's understanding of communication and etiquette. You know, I see a lot more people that I have to assume are a lot younger than I am that'll just jump in and talk over people all the time, or they'll ramble on forever and not be able to get to a point and then drop off and let other people jump in, you know, and just keep going and going and going. But yeah, there's a lot of us that you know have avoided learning the technology, and there's a certain amount of truth to what he was saying. A lot of the older folks don't know how to play with the phone and work with the tools and whatnot, and don't know the controls. You know, there's some truth in that too.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this stuff, it's same thing what I was talking about with AI earlier. It's like when someone tries something and then it doesn't really work, like as the label describes, then or it's difficult or clunky or it's just like too many steps or whatever. These are real barriers, and the smartphone technology is loaded loaded with these barriers. It's not hard to learn, right? We all know that. But if it's like if you have like arthritis in your hands, or you don't have the sense, like this happens as you get older, the sensitivity in your fingers goes away and you can't necessarily feel what's going on or how you're interacting with the screen and stuff. And it's like these are just things that happen with aging, so it's just difficult to use. you know that So why would you use it? you know
Have you ever tried like collagen protein or NMN or like glycine? That stuff is like good for like soft tissue.
yeah, I mean, all this stuff is great, but I mean, you hit a certain age, you're dying. We're all slowly rotting, some rot faster than others, but there's no way to stop it. And these devices are not made for you when you're at like 90% rot, like you're so that we're excluding a generation of people in a sense. And the workarounds of, oh, you can just turn on the voice mode or whatever. If voice mode was easy to use and actually effective, why wouldn't we use it? Like, why wouldn't we use it? We don't use it. So we use our fingers because that's the way it was designed. That's the easiest way to use this stuff. So that's not an answer, I don't think, for that kind of thing. Yes, Gunky.
Another silly joke. I was just thinking, just drop a couple of tabs into their teapot and then just give them all the phone and let them get on with it.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah, give them some. But I think, the overall point I was trying to make there's now ways we could do it. So my dad's totally comfortable on a laptop, right? Because he has the keys, he can type, that was his job for a long time, was working on a computer. And so he can work on the laptop. So he could join the space through the laptop versus over the phone or that kind of thing. But so you have to kind of figure out what would work for some people. And with the AI stuff, now that it works better, I'm more apt to recommend it to people to try because it just works. So when you're trying to get somebody on board with something that maybe they're a little bit averse to, maybe new technology or whatever, figure out what would be the easiest, simplest path for them to get there without any hurdles, and you could have a better chance, that's for sure. Yeah, Jeff, go ahead.
Well, you guys, just listening to you guys talk, you threw an absolutely radical idea in my head. I want one of you guys that's good with the video creation stuff, because I haven't really gotten a chance to play with that yet. But we need a good video out there of one of our geriatric friends having a Neuralink in their head attached to their phone with direct access to the internet, and all of the chaos and destruction that would cause across the world. I think that would be hilarious.
Rich, you want to take that one on?
Yeah, I can definitely brainstorm something.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna be closing up the space here in a minute. I saw Ian Snow jumped up here, so if you wanted to say hi or would add anything, just go ahead and throw your hand up, and I'll know to send the mic to you, or jump in now if you want.
All right. Hey, speaking of technology, it's working, right?
You sound great.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, hey, this first time here. Thanks for having me. I just got the link from one of my connections. I think not unique, but um, I'm a starting out author. I'm trying to, get part of a community here on X that is indie authors that really have tried and tried and tried to get traditionally published. Doesn't work out. Um, So they're trying to, try to start up a little something, a grassroots movement to get that kind of going. And a lot of the stuff you've been talking about, attention spans of people and don't like to read, what have you, all that's in play. Also, Jeff, I think, mentioned Eliza earlier. I would just like to, as an aside, one of the stories I'm working on, Eliza is one of my main characters. Thank you for that little plug. Um, but I don't know. It's just we're looking for ideas, and anybody that's got some out of the box kind of thinking on that, to kind of expand our reach to get more people interested. And of course, we're all 100% willing to reciprocate whatever media people are in. Although I will say that a lot of the artist space, particularly authors, seem to be really, really I want to say apathetic, but it's worse than that towards AI. It's really antagonistic. So that takes a little bit of working. I myself am not, but anyway, that's all I have.
Oh, well, welcome. This is great. Yeah, we have authors pop in here from time to time. So our spaces are a great place to mingle and hang out and meet others. And I would also suggest, if you don't have like an actual community going on X, or someone that's big, you're part of it, maybe being active in it and hosting spaces within the community, because as you grow, these spaces announcements go out to the community members. So whenever I start a space in the community, they get the notification that it started. So this is a great way to just let people know what's happening, right? And you can get people in the room, chat about what's going on, regarding whatever it is that you're working on, or specific topics that are relevant to self-publishing and that kind of stuff.
Could I just throw one more thing in that I forgot to mention earlier? That there is a community. It's called Fellowship of the Independent Authors, based, loosely on the Tolkien series. But we're about, I don't know, almost 900 to 1,000 strong at this point. We're still just kind of starting out, trying to figure out what to do with it. So there is an organization there. We're just looking for ideas. That's it. I'll go.
Yeah, awesome. That's a fantastic crowd. I mean, this community here has 300, and when I do my spaces, we get like, 10, 15 people about, but they're all like really good people that pop in here, like, so like for me, that's fantastic. But if I was 3 times as big, I mean, I can imagine how many people I would reach with spaces. It's really the most powerful way to connect the community and find the core group of people that are actually active and interested in pursuing things, have discussions, share their work, want to get engaged, that kind of thing, versus the people who are just kind of floating around hoping something's going to happen for them. It's like, 2 different types of of people that are on X. So I would encourage that, making something in the community a regular weekly space. You could even just do one or every 2 weeks or something, and seeing how that goes, and just asking people who show up, right? The people that show up, those are the ones that you want to be like, okay, these are the people that are engaged and they want to participate. So ask them, like, what are you guys struggling with? Where are your pain points? What's the problems with either X or elsewhere in your self-publishing? And is it getting information? Okay, you can't get the information, we'll get people on a space that have that information, and we'll talk about it. Like, you can really just engage directly in a public forum. That's so great, because a lot of times, like, things here on X devolve into these DM groups, and it's all very much like clicky and behind the scenes. And connections do happen there, and there's definitely a purpose for that, right? But that's very isolating. It's hard to bring people into that. So by doing the spaces, it's an invitation for new people, and then also to give a platform to people who are active and engaged. So that's what I would encourage. I find that to be the most useful, at least as far as like kind of just bringing people together on this app. It's very hard to do. So I hope you do that. And if you do, or anything you come up with for the community, come back to one of our spaces and share it, because we do have authors that come in and go in here from time to time, and people who are self-publishing in all kinds of different works, genres. So like, there's definitely people who pop into this community that would be very much interested in what you're doing over there. So I hope that's helpful. Awesome. Jeff, jump in.
Yeah, I was gonna actually give a recommendation for Ian there. I'm also doing some writing work in the background on stories and stuff that I've spent decades developing, but never got anywhere. In following the more traditional writing path. But you can use AI as a collaboration tool. It's literally like having a person. At least the way I'm using it. In particularly, you can work with Grok because it has an absolutely wonderful facility in that you can create an independent conversation, and it will remember that conversation as long as you keep a record of it. Copy it into a document or something somewhere just to make sure. But you can, and I'm talking about the one where it's, the grok.com, not the one in the app here, but on the website, because it will remember everything in that conversation. So you can do character development, you can do world creation, all of that, and literally have almost like a collaborator ghostwriter in the background working with you. That's an awesome tool. And you can do the same thing on TSI's AI tutor platform. Takes a little bit more work because it doesn't have the running memory kind of thing with a given conversation. But you can work with it. And just that's, I just listening to what you were saying. That's one thing I would recommend you look at if you're not already doing it.
Yeah, and AI can be used too for just these questions, as well as like, okay, we have this community, we're trying to figure out what we can do with it. It's like such a great brainstorming tool. So that's how I come up with ideas for these spaces. A lot of the times is not necessarily for the topics and stuff, but like for how can we engage with the audience. So we're wrapping up the space here. Thanks everyone who jumped in. But we're going to be closing up here in a second. And I'm tying this all in because I used AI to come up with like, how can I make this space more interactive? And one of the suggestions was to have the poll. So get your votes in. If it isn't closed yet, go back to the first pinned post, or you can find it down below in the purple pill, and get your vote in. Christopher, are you able to present the poll and the results as we see them? All right, I'll take that as a no. Right. Let me see. I will go ahead and do that.
There we
And
go.
let's
Okay.
see. Oh, there you are.
My entire interface is glitching out. So let me see if I can get to my thing without clicking on it, because now clicks don't work. Here we go. Okay, the poll was, what is best in life? And last place with 14.3% of the vote was to see them driven before you. Second place was to crush your enemies with 28.6% of the vote. And number one, which is interesting, 57.1% of the vote, Lamentations of the Women. There we go.
I'm not surprised by that here on this platform. Yeah. Oh, well, fun space. And I didn't have anyone win the bingo. So anyone listening to the recording can claim that bingo prize, which is the what is it? The pin post in the community on Friday, which can be any post you want. So you can listen to the replay, play the bingo along, and send us the card if you win. And that link is in the purple pill down below or pinned up above. You can check that out. Great prize. But yeah, it's hard to play bingo every time. I forget to play too. So we might need to come up with a new game. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us today. Hope to see you on Sunday Space, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. That space, we do a little bit more of a controversial hot topic. This space is a more chill, relaxed topic. So we can welcome new listeners. Anyone that you know that maybe is new to X or trying to find their way around, send them to this space on Wednesdays and send them to the community, and they can become active on here and meet a great group of people, like a fantastic group of people here listening. So thanks everyone for who comes and participates, and the speakers and the listeners and leaves comments, reposts, all that stuff. Very grateful for your participation and for joining us. I really, really enjoy these conversations every time. Thank you, Rich. Do you have anything you would like to share before we close up the space? I'll give my co-host an opportunity to do that.
No, thank you for asking. It's been a great space. I've had some technical difficulties yet once again, so I haven't been able to chat as much, but I appreciate you as always, Kate, and you, Christopher. Thank you both. And thank you to all the listeners and speakers.
Yeah, check out Rich's communities that he's created and is a part of. He's very active in those, so they're great ones to join in as well. Christopher, do you want to talk about your latest video, perhaps?
Yes, I have an analog horror series called Capstone. It's on TikTok and it's also on YouTube. I just put a link in the Jumbotron directly to the YouTube version of that. And episode 1 is out now. Episode 2 will be out on Friday at 1 p.m. PST time. So look out for that. It's very cool, very creepy, and yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, you will love this. Thank you everybody for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Christopher. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel that he's linked up above. And for me, I have a fun post pinned in my profile. If you're looking for a little bit of silliness, I took storm chasers, which I love. I'm a huge fan of storm chasing, the live streams and stuff. And I put them in the year 1880. And what would that be like? So it's just a little bit of comedy created with AI. And I'm quite proud of that one. And I wish that would.
It's funny.
Yeah, sound on, of course, but it's still funny with the sound off, in my opinion. If you're into the storm chasing stuff, you'll get some of the comedy in there right away. That's all I've got, and we'll see you on Sunday. Thanks again, everyone, for joining, and have a great day. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.